Okay, everybody ready?
Be right back.
Are you ready? Okay, Meredith, go ahead.
The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery is meeting at 8:07 a.m. on August 20th, 2020 at the Health Licensing Office in Salem, Oregon, and remotely, I guess, should be added. I will now call roll. Meredith Klein, I'm here. Wendy Smith. Here. Beth Iva is not here. Christine Morales. Here. Lynette Pettibone. Here. Kelsey Fisher. Here. Meredith Mann. Here. Members, during the course of the meeting, please wait to speak until recognized by the chair. Once you've been recognized, please state your last name. Audience members are asked to sign in on the attendance roster. Public interested parties' feedback may be heard during the public interested parties' feedback period if indicated on the agenda. Everyone is asked to use appropriate language, manners, and protocols in conducting board business. This meeting is called to order. Great. So,
this is Kelsey, and I move to approve the agenda. Is that what we're doing then?
somebody else is,
This is Wendy, I second.
okay. Now our next item is going into executive session.
You have to do a roll call.
We got to vote. We should vote on this agenda.
Have to vote on the agenda. Okay. Wendy?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Lynette? Aye. Kelsey?
Aye.
Meredith Mann?
Aye.
And Meredith Klein? Aye. Do I need to say something at the end of that? Sorry.
No,
Something?
this is Sylvia. You're doing fine. What you can say is motion carries if you want. You don't have to. You can just move on to item number 4. So you should have a script with a 4 on it.
I do. Thank you for numbering everything for me. Okay. The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660 ORS 192.3559A, and ORS 40.225 for the purpose of considering information related to legal advice exempt from public disclosure at 8:10 a.m. on August 20th, 2020. Representative of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are required to leave the room. Are there any representatives of the news media in the audience?
No.
No. Recognizing there are no news media in attendance, all other audience members are asked to leave the room during the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions. We are now in executive session.
As April turns the recording back on. Okay, read the second page of number 4, please.
The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now exit executive session and reconvene open session at 8:48 a.m. No final decisions were made and no votes were taken in executive session. Members of the audience are welcome to return, and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
Okay, so this is Sylvie. We still do not have any public members who have called in to the other phone line yet. We're monitoring it, so when they do, we'll let you know. So we'll move on to item number 6. You should have a script with a 6A on the top of it. You can go ahead and read that.
The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and ORS 676.595 for the purpose of considering information or records that are exempt from law by public disclosure at 8:49 a.m. on August 20th, 2020. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are required to leave the room. Are there any representatives of the news media in the audience?
No.
Recognizing there is no news media in attendance, all other audience members are asked to leave the room during executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions. We are now...
You ready?
Yep.
You turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, Meredith.
Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will exit executive session and reconvene open session at 11:20 a.m. No final decisions were made and no votes were taken in executive session. Members of the audience are welcome to return, and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
So this is Sylvie. Is there anybody on the phone for the public?
Yes, this is Silke Akerson.
Good morning, Silka. Okay, so they're back on open session. They'll be on, oh, somebody else just logged in. Did somebody else just log in? Okay. So Silka, they're going to be on just here for a couple minutes. They're going to make I do believe, have a little discussion, and they're going to go right back into executive session. And then come back out of executive session no earlier than 11:30 a.m. So just so that you're aware. Okay, board, go ahead.
Okay, this is Chelsea Fisher, and I move that in case number 14-7699, that we offer a settlement pursuant to the board's direction and delegate approval of written terms and final language to the board chair, Meredith Klein.
This is Lynette Pettibone, and I second the motion. So we need to take a vote.
Correct.
Yep.
Meredith Klein, aye. Wendy Smith,
Aye.
Christine Morales,
Aye.
Lynette Pettibone, aye.
Meredith, you just cut out. Say that again.
Aye. Oh, Chelsea Fisher and
Aye. Aye.
Excellent. Okay, so that, go ahead.
I was going to say that I'm not here today.
Say that again. Your phone cut out.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was just saying that I'm not here.
Beth's not here, so she...
Yeah, Beth's not here. Correct. Okay, so now we are on item number 9. So you should have, Meredith, a script for number 9.
The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will now meet in executive session pursuant to ORS 192.6602F and ORS 676.595 for the purpose of considering information or records that are exempt by law from public disclosure at 11:24 a.m. on August 20th, 2020. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are required to leave the room. Are there any representatives of the news media in the audience?
No.
Recognizing that there is no news media in attendance, all other audience members are asked to leave the room during the executive session. We will return to open session before taking any final action or making any final decisions.
Okay, Meredith, go ahead and read.
The Board of Direct Entry and Midwifery will now exit executive session and reconvene open session at 11:54 a.m. No final decisions were made and no votes were taken in executive session. Members of the audience are welcome to return, and representatives of the media may once again report all board discussions and actions.
Okay, so Silka, are you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
All right, perfect. Is there anybody other than Silka that is on the public line? Okay. So we're going to hold a minute and hopefully we'll hear Wendy chime in here in a second. There we go. Wendy, is that you?
That is me. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Wendy. Okay, so board and public, we are on the agenda on item number 11. I do believe we do not have any items for no items for board action. So we'll move on to item number 12. So Meredith, you should have yet another script that talks about public interested parties feedback, which should be part of your second page of your call to order script.
Okay. I got it. At this time, the Board of Direct Entry Midwifery will hear public/interested parties feedback. Members of the audience, please wait until you've been recognized by the chair. Once recognized, please state your name and affiliation to the board for the record. So I guess that's you, Silka.
Hello, everyone. It's so strange not to be able to see your faces. This is Silka Akerson from the Oregon Midwifery Council. And I just had a brief public comment on two things. One is we received notice of the proposed administrative rules public comment period. And we received that notice on August 18th. When it looks like the comment period opened on August 1st and the letter is dated August 7th. So that means it leaves just a 10-day public comment period from the time notice was received. And that seems pretty short to me. OMC's letter can be prepared in that time. I'll probably have it finished today. But it's just limited notice for a public comment period. And then I also wanted to point out, I sent Tammy and Meredith an email to this effect just now, but it still states that the comments should be sent to Tammy's former email address, the state.or.us address that no longer works. So I think a corrected notice needs to be sent out. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about was, actually I have two things. One is I really appreciated the agenda with the potential times for different pieces of the meeting on the agenda, but I still think that the current way that it happens where the public parts of the meeting or the public comment may or may not be at particular times is a really really high hurdle for public participation in these meetings, and I'm just going to continue to ask that the public parts of the meeting be, like at fixed scheduled times that the public can participate in. And then the last thing that I wanted to say is I am really curious to hear the board discuss if when this rulemaking is finally done, if they might revert to having quarterly meetings. I think the frequency of the meetings is hard for recruitment of board positions, and it's also hard for public participation in meetings when they are so frequent. And I'd love to hear the board discuss reverting to a schedule that's more typical for licensing boards. That's all.
Thank you, Silka.
Great question, Silka. About every 3 months, I'm wondering.
So
do we have an answer, or do we not respond right now with
Well, this is Sylvie. If we could, let's just move on to item number 13, which is other board business. And then we can talk about a whole bunch of different things. So let's move on. For the record, we are on item number 13, other board business. So let's talk about quarterly meetings. I know that a lot of you probably would love quarterly meetings. We would here at the office would also love quarterly meetings, since you are one of 16 boards and programs that we have. But again, that's how you guys feel about how the cases are going. It might give the investigators a little bit more time in between meetings to get farther along in their reports and be able to get some cases closed. But you got to remember, you guys are all, the board gets to make all the decisions on the cases. So those are things for you guys to talk about.
So should we talk about them now?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of going back to every 3 months. I think, I guess the problem would be if there was something that was almost finished, and then we have to wait another 3 months before we could really, close a case. So I guess it could go either way as far as the investigators having enough time to, prepare more cases. I mean, I think I probably agree that it's an obstacle for board member recruitment because it's a bigger time commitment.
So this is Sylvie. I think another option, so like today, I feel that today was intended for, today's board meeting was intended for you guys to deal with a lot of stuff very specific about some certain cases. One of the things, and this again, you guys get to make these choices. I don't think it was, granted, Silka was on the phone, she had a comment, she got her comment across. I'm not trying to convince you to not do that. But this board meeting was not necessarily intended to address, quote, the public or anything to do with the public. It was about cases and trying to get some things accomplished. And so sometimes you may have to have a meeting similar to today because there's decisions we need you to make so that somebody's not waiting 6 months down the road, because at the next board meeting you'll vote on something and then 3 months later you're going to vote on, then approve something. So that's 6 months away versus us doing a meeting like this to try and expedite the process. So that's kind of what today's meeting was about. So maybe if we make it more clear to the public that we're going to have these interim meetings that is based solely on executive sessions and decisions the boards needs to make, and then there will not be a public comment period. That's a choice. You can always have a public comment period. But those are things to think about too. You could do quarterly meetings where you talk about everything, really encourage the public to participate, have all the reports, all that kind of stuff, and then just say, hey, we're having an enforcement board meeting that we're going to focus on enforcement and not public comment, or you can still have public comment but make sure that they're aware that you're working on enforcement. So those are, things to think about when you start doing quarterly, as in how long it's going to take you guys to make a decision on something when you need to make several decisions on things.
Sure. So we could always decide to have a separate meeting just to talk about closing a particular case. That wouldn't have to be of course we give notice to the public, but it wouldn't be like a meeting that was necessary to have public comment, that it wouldn't be indicated. It would just be like an additional one, and then we could just do that as needed. But the expectation would be that it's quarterly.
Right, and any meeting that you guys have where you get together and make decisions on stuff is a public meeting. So the public is entitled to listen to it, thus the reason for 2 phones. However, you may not necessarily have a public comment period, and we can state in the notice that, this is a special meeting for the board to vote on and make some decisions about some stuff. It is, it is an open meeting to where you can listen to it. However, there will not be any public comment period, and so that it's making it clear that, but those are all choices that you guys could make. You can leave the public comment period on there. It doesn't mean that they can't listen, but it is a public meeting. It's just maybe us making it a little clearer that here's what the things that the board's trying to address today, because like with Silka's comment about the public comments on item number 12, and we did some estimate time. We were not back on record at 11:30 because we went longer than we thought. And, and it is hard for people who are the public to know what our intent is for the day. But we could put a little leading paragraph that says, this board meeting's intent is to address blah, blah, blah. However, you're still welcome to call in. Just kind of like letting them know that it's going to be an awkward, long, because the office is not going to be opening back up to the public anytime soon. So this is going to continue this way for quite some time.
This is Lynette. I'm wondering if we could switch the timing of the public comment to like the first thing.
You can switch, absolutely, you can switch it, but then it's part of it is we can put public comments on there a couple times also, but we can always make sure that public comment is right after items for board action, as long as if we need public comments after something. So sometimes, like if you guys are going to be talking about rules or you're going to be talking about something, you want to have a public comment period after what you're talking about so that they have time to comment, so we could have more than one. So that's an option too. Is there anything, any other questions about the, because we have like I said, we have 0 issues going to quarterly. So let's talk about that. So your next meeting is scheduled for September 24th. And that's considered a special meeting. So, Sammy, are they going to have to vote on permanent?
Yeah, permanent rules, and then if rolling session.
So we need that to keep that meeting because of the finalizing rules.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. And then after that, we've got October 22nd. That is one of your quote regular board meetings, which is the quarterly board meeting. And then we've got November 19th, which is a special. Do you need them to meet for that?
No.
So what we could do...
I mean, won't it depend a little bit on how much we deliberate after the public comment period?
Could. I mean, they could wait.
Right? Like, if we really adopt permanent rules in September, then great. We probably won't need to meet in November for that special board meeting.
Wait, you mean October? What? Wait, when do they have to vote on
October
permanent?
was the regular.
So September is when they vote. So September?
Well, they're going to look at more VBAC information, the public comment, whatever happens in the hearing on Monday, and then they may choose to vote, or they may not choose to vote.
So, Kelsey, are you implying that, I'm just trying to follow along here. So should we move October's regular, you can't see my air quotes, October's regular board meeting to September be a regular board meeting, since you have to meet in September anyways, and then potentially not meet in October?
I mean, that also seems reasonable. Sure. I know that sometimes we think something is going to be easy, and then we get a lot of public comment, and then we have a lot of deliberation, and we might, change things significantly again. So I was thinking that it makes sense to keep the schedule as it is now, and then if everything goes as smoothly as we're hoping it is, we can just cancel the board meeting for the rest of the year after October.
So not do a November, and we don't have you down for December anyways? That works.
Right.
That works for any.
And then, if the rules are permanent and closed, then it feels comfortable to resume quarterly unless there's, cases that come up that we need special board meetings to address.
So that means we meet in September, meet in October. In October, we'll figure out sometime in January, February-ish to meet again.
This is Wendy. Just as someone who was involved in quarterly meetings, I mean, just be aware that, you know, they last much longer than, you know, and maybe that's good. Maybe it's not for everybody, but you know, we were there much longer, and then there were horror stories of people staying longer with the previous session when they were working on the rules. So.
This is Sylvia. That is very, very true, because we'll have a whole lot. We'll have 3 months worth of stuff to give you versus 1 month worth of stuff to give you. So.
But also, we don't have like concrete plans for another rulemaking session. So I think that quarterly, until we're in another rulemaking session, makes perfect sense.
It would make us happy.
But this is Wendy again. And be aware that the backlog of cases, you know, started in the past, and we were able to kind of close that gap for a while, and then when administrative rules came in, it kind of got them backlogged a bit again. So, I mean, we were working on some really, really old cases, and I know that's still sort of the case right now, but there's a reason for that. But just be aware of the potential issues.
This is Lynette, and I have a question about logistics. I know I've asked several times in email with Sammy, but is there any progress in making these meetings like video conferencing as opposed to telephone conferencing?
So this is Sylvie. We're working on it. So I've gotten Teams loaded onto my computer. However, so Teams, Microsoft Teams, which will be what they'll allow us to use. So there's a whole bunch of programs out there that just make it easy and simple, which is great, but that doesn't mean that our IT department allows us to use any of them, especially for meetings like this when it's mainly executive session, because if any data is stored on a cloud, it has to be a certain type, because you don't want anybody having access to any of our information or being able to hear it or hack their way into it. So anyway, so MS Teams is the one that they have approved for us to use. They have loaded it onto my computer. However, they will not turn it on yet. And we haven't quite figured out why. We put a ticket in to get it turned on, but they haven't done anything. And so I don't know if they're still running tests on it to make sure. They know what I do, which would be this, because they're going to give me an account so that we can do these. So hopefully we will have that soon, because I keep telling them how important it is for us to all be able to see each other. That's how we communicate. And so we're hoping within the next couple of weeks that we get it, but I'm not the IT department and I don't know what the reasonings are yet.
Is that something that's going to be limited to Microsoft computers then?
I don't know. I don't know enough.
It's not.
I'm like, I don't know.
No, Kelsey, I have a Mac and have used Teams before. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, Teams is not Microsoft only. No.
So that's the goal for that. I've been hounding for a while. You got to remember that we seem so small, like there's, probably, 8 of us in here, but we are all State of Oregon employees, and the IT department is the State of Oregon ID department, and so you're talking hundreds of thousands of people. So thus things go a little bit slower than what I want or anybody else wants, for that matter. So it has to get approved through, because all of our information goes through the state data center, and so they're the ones who have ultimate control over what can or cannot be on your computer. So working on it. That was a long answer for working on it.
This is Meredith Mance. I just wanted to kind of echo a little bit what Wendy said. I definitely understand the value of going back to quarterly meetings, but also I'm pretty deeply concerned about the backlog of cases and like how long that process takes. That was pretty shocking to me coming onto the board. of how long that process is. And I absolutely understand that there are a lot of factors that go into it, but I feel like anything we can do, and if that means monthly meetings to get this caught up and get the investigations rolling, I personally feel like I want to do that.
I mean, this is Kelsey, and I could be totally wrong, but it seems like the board is not necessarily the limiting factor on the cases moving through and an expedient factor.
I agree.
I feel like
because there's some accountability that can come from having these monthly meetings and echoing what we need and what we want to see, as opposed to like these 3-month gaps, at least just while we're trying to catch up.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also feel like the investigators having, one more day a month, most months, to actually work on our cases than sit here and report on them to us. I don't know, I feel like I can go either way with that. I don't know that it feels like the cases are moving much faster with monthly meetings than they were the little while I've been on the board that we were quarterly.
Working on administrative rules more closely. I mean, we really did. We caught up on a backlog, and when I joined as well, we were really in a backlog, and then we did some focused stuff to kind of get ourselves caught up. And now I think that's kind of where we're going to be again. So I guess my 2 cents would be to consider maybe 1 more year or 6 more months of monthly meetings to try to catch up and then see where you're at.
And this is Sylvia, you guys don't have to make a decision today. We can talk about it again next month. I think that you already have meetings scheduled out for September, October, November. So and then if you do not meet in November, then we're going to have to in October plan out your meeting dates for next year. If you're going to meet in November, then in November you will plan out your meeting dates for next year. So what you guys can do is you can ponder it, think on it, and then when it comes, then let us know, and we can draft up either monthly or quarterly.
I have monthly scheduled.
Because right now we have monthly scheduled for you, but that's where you guys can then decide either if you're going to meet in October or November. So what you could decide on now is if you want to vote on next year's meeting dates in October and cancel November, or keep November and vote in November.
Meredith Vance again. I'm not sure if that's a decision we can make until we see what happens at that September meeting, right? I mean, that seems like a really big question mark in our timeline and workbook.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Kelsey, and that's what I was trying to say, is I feel like a lot of this depends on what happens with the public comment and the rules.
Okay, so somebody make note to, under other board business in September, to bring up this conversation again. Because it won't be an agenda item, because it's not something you have to talk about. But you'll know more based on how things went on whether or not you want to vote in October or November and drop November.
And the board meeting in September is the 24th?
Yes.
Or the 17th?
The 24th.
24th, yeah. Okay, good.
And so you guys have been having, I think your last 3 meetings have been at 8 a.m. They were at 9 a.m. So the September 24th meeting is scheduled to be at 9 a.m. All of them are scheduled to be at 9 a.m. Do you want them at 8 a.m.? Are you guys, I mean, whatever works easier for you guys. We're all in here anyways.
I would prefer 8 a.m. if they're going to be on the phone or video. This is Christine. I prefer the 8 a.m. as well.
I do too. This is Meredith Klein.
This is Lynette, and my preference is for in-person meetings to be later, like 9. But I'm happy with 8 a.m. for our phone-in.
Yeah, this is Chelsea. 8 is fine for phone meetings.
Okay, so this is Sylvie. We know for sure, 100% sure, the office will be shut down through October 31st. The odds of her extending that to at least December 31st for the state offices is most likely. So the rest of this year will be obviously not open to the state or open to the public. So let's reschedule all of September, October, and November meetings to be at 8 a.m. When we do the vote on the next year's meetings, then we can decide if you want to do 8 or 9, and we can then figure out, because what my ultimate goal is to even have meetings, obviously once we get open back up to the public, have it to where you are in person, but if there's somebody who can't get here or can't travel, but they want to do the MS Teams, that we would still be able to do that. It might be kind of interesting on how we do that with, like, if more than one person needs to call in. So it'll be interesting, but that's my goal is that we can have people, like the mixture of people in person and on the computer. So, okay, anything else? Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
This is Lynette, and I wanted to talk more about the process of finding SMEs so that we could add to our pool.
Okay, so we currently have one, and just so everybody knows, SME, a subject matter expert. We currently only have one person under contract. What we have done in the past, and again, you guys get to make the decision, so however you want to do it, and Kelsey and Wendy both were around. When we get applicants, we then have brought them before the board, and the board got to kind of talk about the applicants and who to recommend. But we hadn't done that in a while. I mean, I think, God, I can't remember, like a couple years that's been that we actually had a pool of applicants.
And
2018.
We had, this is Bob, and we had 2 or 3 of them at the time come on, and then they've slowly dropped off. Mm-hmm. And so Trampus is telling me he's heard from Sarah Lax. She'll be back in November.
Yeah, she was just taking a 1-year leave, and that started in November. So, as far as I know, she'll be coming back in...
It's already been a year? Holy smokes. So Sarah Lax will be...
November or December sometime.
Hopefully be coming back. Trampus will touch bases with her and find out, so that will help. But the thing is, you know, people have to want to do it. They have to have the time to do it.
And then we would have...
Yeah, when Sarah comes back, then we'll have 2. So that would be helpful because Sarah's been doing it for quite some time, so she understands the process. So that'll help. But it's, you know, it's letting, you know, your fellow midwives know that, you know, hey, we need a subject matter expert. If you're interested, contact Bob. And Bob can talk through them of what it's like, you know, what they kind of do and
the
criteria to do so. And then the board reviews any applications that he gets.
So is there a formal application that we can pass out? Is there a call for applications that we can publish?
Just there.
What can we do?
We have an outreach letter.
We can do an outreach letter, and they provide us with their resume. And so the criteria is we prefer somebody that's got at least 5 years experience. No disciplinary in their
I think it's all in the letter.
In their recent history, but yeah, Sammy seems to think it's in the letter.
I think all that criteria, like what we'll consider, is all in the letter.
Yeah, to what we're looking for.
So Sammy, are you implying that you're willing to send out a letter
Yes.
to licensees?
Yes.
So Sammy's willing to draft up a letter and send it out to all licensees that says, hey, the office is looking for a subject matter expert. here's the qualifications. If you're interested, submit A, B, and C to
B.O.B.
to Bob's email address, and we'll give Bob's email address. So that will maybe get some recruits interested.
That sounds perfect. I think having a pool of at least 3 is valuable.
Yes, and are you guys only looking for direct entry midwives, or would you like her to also reach out to the Board of Nursing for nurse midwives?
I think
Lynette and I don't think so.
Okay, 2 people at once. I think Lynette said, Lynette say no. Direct entry midwives only for Lynette, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody do want a nurse midwife involved at all?
I mean, I think this is Christine, there's nurse midwives that practice out of hospital first, so I think they could just as easily act as a subject matter expert.
They are not beholden to the same rules as the LDM. That's my concern.
No, they're not, but they can read the rules and just that, I think there's like community standards. I don't know, but I don't have a big need one way or the other.
So this is Bob. So not only do we receive a report from the subject matter expert, whether it's a nurse midwife or a direct entry midwife, they have experience, they can read the records, they help us interpret the records, and like every other case, it comes before the board, and the board has input as well. So without the aspect of taking on a nurse midwife, it could limit your pool, as we've seen in the past.
Well, let's try this letter from Sammy out to the LDMs first, and then we can, talk about broadening the net if we need to.
Perfect.
I think that sounds great.
Anything else? Any other board business? Okay, so Meredith, on it would be again the second page of your call to order script has your adjourn script.
Yep. Are we doing it?
Doing it.
That's up to you. You're running the meeting.
All right, I'm doing it. The Board of Direct Entry Midwifery meeting is adjourned at 12:27 p.m. Thanks, everybody.